Welcome back to another edition of the Fourcast. It is the two-cast as of tonight. Doc is out, and Wilkes is out. So it'll be myself, the Ben and A-Trap show tonight. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we got a treat for you tonight as we review Sly Lives. Shout out to Questlove with another great documentary, aka The Burden of Black Genius, and he crossed out black, which I felt like was a really good touch to the graphic and everything. So again, man, shout out to Questlove. He did a previous documentary we did, which was the Black Woodstock documentary, and I'm appreciative of what he's doing because it's really giving you a look at some of the things that we don't know about, or some of the things that kind of broaden our horizons and our understanding of people and events, throughout history. So, A-Trap, man, good to see you. You guys did a great job last week.
Yeah, I know.
You and Mayhem last week did a great job. But man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Well rested, finally.
I hear you. I hear you. Went on a little vacation myself last week, so it's definitely, man, needed that rest and relaxation, so you can come back and be better than ever. So Sly Lives, it's available on Hulu, and Hulu's coming out with some crazy stuff lately. So Hulu's starting to, on my power ranking of streaming platforms, Hulu is starting to get up in the rankings. Paradise, which I started watching that's really good. Even some stand-up that they have. So Hulu's getting up there. I'm also doing some live, not live stand-up content. They got shows, they got some of everything. So, but let's get into this. Sly Lives. Normally what Doc would do, I would kind of go down and give you the breakdown of it. So let me pull that up right quick and give you kind of the rundown. So Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius, examines the life and legacy of Sly and the Family Stone, the groundbreaking band led by the charismatic and enigmatic Sly Stone. The film captures the band's rise, reign, and subsequent fade out, while shedding light on the unseen burden that comes with success for Black artists in America. Featuring Andre 3000, D'Angelo, Shaka Khan, Q-Tip, Nile Rodgers, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, George Clinton. Now, I didn't have Sly himself on there, and maybe that was by choice, but it did have the band members, so it gave it some validity. It wasn't like this was somebody that was trying to make this from afar. It really gave it some validity because it had people in the band. It had different people that interacted, had his kids. So, again, shout out to Questlove on this. But what was your initial thoughts on this?
My initial thoughts was this is awesome. This was needed. I want this to continue. One of my initial thoughts was, I wish the next project Questlove does is one of the people who was in the documentary, George Clinton. His story.
Yes. Yeah, you're right about that.
Aware and available, but this showed the complex personality of a person who has impacted the world. How many people who lives today that say, I impacted the entire world?
Right.
And I still do to this day, just by my existence in a past life. This was a wonderful documentary, and I'm always looking at documentary side eyes anyway. So for me to love a documentary, it goes deep.
Right. And this is one of those where, again, they could have done it in multiple parts. They could have done this in, part 1 through 4. But I think they did a great job at really putting everything in this. This was an hour and 50 so minutes. So it gave you everything in a short amount of time, which is very difficult to do with someone of this stature, someone of this amazing talent. And so they gave a little bit of background. He was actually born in Denton, Texas. So and me, Doc, and Wilkes, kind of neck of the woods. He ended up Great Migration, which we talked about this in numerous documentaries, films we've done. Ended up moving to Vallejo, I believe we said when he was 3 months old or so. I mean, he didn't remember a lot of about Denton, obviously, because he was a baby. So moving to San Francisco and just everything, the culture that was going on there. 1964, ended up becoming a DJ. So he was really in music, really, I think as early as possible. Even as a kid, he was in music, and he became, what he became, and the impact that he made. So talk about the upbringing, and I know we talked about this in numerous different films, The Great Migration and how that impacted him.
Yeah, man. I mean, it seems like everybody from Louisiana over east, Arkansas, Louisiana, and things of that nature from the southern portion of the country, they all migrated west, and other people from South Carolina, Georgia, and other those like the migration goes in three sections. You got the Arkansas, some of Arkansas, some of Louisiana, Missouri, and Texas went to California. Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas went up north. They went to St. Louis. They went to Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Detroit, and Milwaukee and Minnesota. And then you had the Eastern Seaboard. They went up to New York. So, and this is the development of Black culture throughout the country, and it all starts from the southeastern part of the United States of America. And it shows you how that's why I have a series called Rapping with H-Rap, in which I interview people your parents have been on, and I've had other people on. And the whole purpose of it is to show that we have more in common than we have separate. We have our odds and ends, and people have disagreements and whatnot. But we have more people that act and think like us than we have that don't. And I want us to start embracing that. And Sly Stone is the epitome of cultural embrace, and without the other odds and ends, and not all the politics and things of that nature. So yeah, I really enjoyed that portion of it as well.
Yeah. And I think it's always good to see, somebody's background, where they came from, their roots, and obviously started off in the church, was in a choir with his brothers and sister, and that to me just really showed that he loved music. It wasn't like it was just something that he was good at, so he just decided to do it. It was something that he loved, he had a true passion for, and just from a kid, you could just see the impact that he had, and how they talked about how he commanded a room. And when he, even as a kid, they had a recording of him singing. So, I knew of Sly. I knew obviously my parents were big in music, albums, but the impact that he had, they were just going through all these songs, Everyday People, Stand. It was just so many songs that I knew he did some of them, but it was just so many that this guy's impact was beyond what I thought that it was. So, yeah, man. And shout out to Phyllis in the building. Thank you for tuning in.
You know who that is, huh?
Yeah, your sister.
No, I'm saying you know who that is, and her other name on the screen. That's Golden.
Oh, that's Golden. Okay. I did not realize that. But yeah, appreciate you, Golden.
I knew you knew when you said Philip. I said he don't know that's the same person.
That's the chat name.
Yeah.
Name. But yeah, man. But yeah, I knew of him, but I didn't know of his greatness. And this really showed his greatness. And I think, like you said it, when you think about the people, one of the people who was featured on this, George Clinton is definitely one of those. He has to have one, because his influence on music goes beyond any type of genre, which is what Sly and the Family Stone was, man. They dived into all different types of genres, rock, even did some soul. He started using a beat machine kind of later on. But and I know you and Doc talk about this often, like there wasn't any black or white music. And to me, this was like a prime example.
I mean, we just listen, we just listen to music, man. Like it's funny being born at the top of the 70s. I started the 70s. I'm born in 1970. I didn't know what black and white music was. I used to like the Monkees. There was this TV show called the Monkees. They was like a spinoff of the Beatles. They was like the American Beatles. Used to listen because it was a TV show about a band who was trying to make it. And they would, they had little quirky songs, and so you hear that you saw another TV show of the Partridge Family. They were the same kind of music, that funky psychedelic music, and the way they dress, and that was Sly Stone thing. And this is when you watch a documentary like this, you see history in your face, and you see that the people who curate the stories, they are constantly lying to you. Even this, I connected this to sports, right? Because Sly Stone is a person who don't nobody want to touch. He's radioactive because he was doing the psychedelics. He was interacting with different races and genders and respecting and people. He was forcing you to respect everyone on earth, whatever you are about, right? And that, in a chaotic place like the United States of America, we don't want that, right?
Right.
But for example, you only heard about James Brown, right? James Brown is the driving force behind hip hop. But I guarantee you, watching this documentary, you heard about 50 different rap songs.
Oh yeah.
You heard about 50. So why ain't people talking about Sly Stone? And I draw the parallel to sports. When they say Steph Curry's the greatest shooter you ever heard of. Well, you've never seen anybody like Steph Curry. Well, what about Dale Curry? What about Jerry West? What about Pete Maravich? When you look at those old videos, they shooting from the same distance as Steph Curry.
Right.
But nobody talks about it because they want you to focus on right now. And when you focus on right now, you won't realize what has been before you and what there are no limitations to what you do.
Right. I think we're so focused in, like you just said, the now that we can't look behind. That's why I have a playlist because obviously listen to rap. There was definitely in my era of rap, sampling was, took all to a whole nother level. So I have a whole playlist that has the song. So it has like Jay-Z, one of his Blueprint songs, and then it goes to the actual sample. And it's just amazing to hear it because they're literally taking the entire song and they just put it and they either speed it up or slow it down or whatever they may do. And so, and me and Wilkes talk about this all the time. Like, it's like amazing to see how music is not error based. It's endless. It's timeless. You could have any piece of music that you could relate to 30 years ago and probably 20 years from now and currently today. So let me get to this comment, man. Shout out to my brother Watkins. Thank you for tuning in. He said, hey, we're the monkeys.
They monkey around. We're too busy.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother Watkins. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
the comment as well.
Right, man. And and that's before we allow people to, that's dude. I personally like watching this. I was looking at this going, without the influx of people in the government, the United States will be a 100% different place if they'd have just let things organically continue. Because I personally believe if we'd have continued on that pace from the early 70s, the Sly Stone era, the world would be a different place, man. It really would, because if like the TV shows, man, Chico and the Man, Good Times, All in the Family, That's My Mama. These places were intersecting communities and people, like when you see white people on Good Times, they were lost and we don't know what's going on. And then you never had racial tension between Hispanic people. I remember this, my sister Phyllis, she used to she used to always introduce me to these crazy movies like Fort Apache in the Bronx and what's another one of those movies? Just all these movies where people were interacting and you saw the racial tensions, but it was like, we ain't got time for all that. Car Wash, we did Car Wash on here. Car Wash was another one of those movies where you were interacting, but it wasn't that, it was racial tension, but it wasn't like, I hate you. It was just, I don't know you, so stay away from me. I'm doing my own thing. Get out my face. I'm doing my own thing. And I believe if things would have stayed on that trend, we stayed on that trend, the world would be a much better place. But people in charge, they stepped in, they interfered with joy and happiness, and here we are. And it created and enforced chaos.
Right. Yeah, it made the separation, division. That's what it turned out being. And that's where we are right now. There's division every place, every corner you turn, everywhere you look. There is some form of division, and I think that's a huge reason as to why things are why and where they are. And let me get to a couple other comments. It's last home of the pioneers of soul funk. Sly was one of the original pioneers of funk and soul. He was, and you just look at the impact and the amount of artists that he influenced. I just was making a continuous list. Miles Davis, Prince,
Oliver Funkadelic, Stevie Wonder,
and then it was like these, and they said it in this documentary, like the people that he was influenced, end up not being here, end up kind of taking over in his lane and kind of end up pushing them out. But the good thing, the greatness of Sly Stone, is that he took whatever that rejection was and he just reinvented himself. The band started to break up, and he was like, "All right, they don't want to play drums. I'll just get a beat machine." And the way he mixed it up, I mean, these are the musical geniuses that we have to have these type of documentaries about, because if not, people aren't going to know. And that kind of leads into a question: what is Black genius?
That's a hell of a question, man. A genius had to think of it. No, but
that's true.
What is Black genius? What I came up with, my answer was, it was Black genius. I don't even think it's a Black genius, because like the other question that was on there, is it a genius or is it just you allowing to be yourself? Because genius is one thing. Genius is an extraordinary power that you have, whether it be musical, academically, creatively, or what have you, in any way you want to express it. Is it really genius, or is it just, this is the one time that we allow a human being to be that? We're not going to put you in this box. We're not going to box you in where you can't get out. So you have to, like he said earlier in the documentary, I ain't finna be playing, he was playing quote unquote white boy music. And then all of a sudden you find out the Doors' biggest hit is written by Sly Stone.
Yeah.
So am I the first person that was allowed to be himself? Because there was a Motown sound. There was Little Richard and Chubby Checker. They had a sound. There was a sound. And Sly said, I'm just gonna play.
Right. And he said, forget all that. Forget all that. I'm gonna just make sound. And I'm gonna make all these sounds that separately would sound crazy. When you got horns and you got a bass and you got a drums, and even the bass guitarist was like, this may not even work, because the thump of the bass, and then you got somebody playing drums at the same time. Sometimes those were interchangeable. It wasn't like you had both. And so he just, again, these are the musical geniuses that we have to continue to tell the story. Like A-Trap says all the time, you got to tell the story. Let's get to some other comments, man. Appreciate the comments tonight. Cornbread Earl and me. That's one of those we need to do. That's one of those we need to do, man.
He killed cornbread. He killed cornbread. Yeah, man.
What's up, Wayne McDaniel, man? Thank you for tuning in. He said, let me give you a round of applause. Appreciate you guys. 70s is the greatest era for modern music, and Sly was a pure genius. My mother had a crush on Sly when he was a DJ for S or K Soul Radio. His music is as timeless as any group. P Funk, Stevie, listen to his classic Stand. It's eternal. Yeah. Anything black, they want to cover it up. And Golden, yes, but also and D'Angelo kind of said this. They love you. It's kind of a slope. They love you, and you're on the top. The minute you do something, they take you down a notch, and then they just continue to peg you down until you are, you don't even want to go outside. You don't even want to be involved in something that you were so great at. And I think we've seen this numerous times with different artists. But you're right. They want to cover it up or they want to duplicate it. And Little Richard started rock and roll. And even if you go before that, what was his name? Buddy, the one that where Elvis got it from.
Yeah. Buddy Holly. No. Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just saying, they love our rhythm, but they hate our blues.
Yeah.
So if you start speaking about your blues, I want to thank you for allowing me to be myself. Okay, then his latest work was like, hey man, y'all tripping, and we don't bother with him. No.
Yeah, we don't want that, man. Just make us happy. Give us music to make us dance. Shut up and dribble. It's the same thing.
Amen. There it is.
Saying it in a different way. And I think, I agree with you, but also I think Black Genius is just us being ourselves and our God-given talent and using it to the best of our ability. You can go in any genre, any area, any avenue. If you look at Jordan used his ability that God gave him, and he was a genius at that, and it was poetry in motion. If you even want to go to, sports or whatever avenue you want to go with. And I think that's my definition. Totally being able to express yourself the way you feel from your culture and eyes and from our point of view, because our point of view is not like everybody else's point of view. And that's the reason why we are people that are able to take literal trash and make it into a diamond, and people gravitate to it. And they love it. All right, so once again, Sly Lives is what we're reviewing tonight. You can find it on Hulu. Man, this is one of those that you have to watch for multiple reasons. So let's get into a little bit of the documentary. So he produced at 19, "Somebody to Love," which I think was what you mentioned. At 19 years old, like I know that song, and that's not on my playlist. That's not one of those that I listen to. But you just know that song because you've heard it somewhere. You heard it on a movie, you heard it on a TV show, you heard it on a commercial, and he produced that at 19 years old. And his biggest thing was, number one, playing all the instruments that he played: piano, drums. Very similar to a Prince. And you look at Prince's first album, he played all the instruments on it. But he wanted, number two, he wanted a mixed band. He had men, women, he had different races. He had a Hispanic person, he had a white person on the drums. I mean, and I think that's what also made him so great. And I think that's what makes some people great, is that they're able to not just deal with their own their own brothers, their own people in their own neighborhood. They're able to branch out and work with people to make something bigger. And this was bigger than Sly. I mean, we're talking about this umpteen years later. So, and talk about that, just his outlook on, this is the type of band that I want.
Hey man, I really appreciate it, because again, man, this thing we call music, this sound that touches your spirit. This is why I kind of, my initial boycott of R&B music was because I was a hip hopper, and I was like, you know, the R&B guys were like, they were shunning it. It's a fad. It's nothing. And then, you know, anytime somebody attack your thing, you kind of like, you want to fight. You, because this is my thing, kind of like what Sly was doing. But this multicultural, multi-gender, multi-spiritual band, it taps into humanity. And I was able to walk away from R&B because it became sounds instead of instruments. And when you're using these instruments, it don't make a difference. You don't know it's a white guy on the drums. You don't know it's a woman on the horn. You don't know it's a brother on the bass. You just hear all this music coming together, this symphony of people, and you get the best product available. Like you love hip hop too. It's people that don't know who Bob Power is. You just heard Bob Power is in effect on Tribe Called Quest. That's a white man. So you wonder, how many people know who what's my man name? 99 Problems, but
yeah, Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. These are middle-aged white men or 30-year-old white men standing around a bunch of 18, 19-year-old black kids who don't know how to do this stuff. And they going, don't worry about it. You like music. I'm a musician. We're gonna make this work. And again, that's why I said at the top of the show, this is proof positive of there is an entity, the man in the background controlling things, because the closer we get, then it's always something that's intersecting, and it slows it down and it stops it. And that's why, yeah, man, this music thing is the key. Music is the key.
Yeah.
And if you can get people to listen to the other people's plight, it's going to be a problem.
Right. And I agree with this. Golden Nina Simone sings about a lot of racism. That song, it's probably one of her most famous songs, but Bird Flying High, you know how I feel, was the name of that song.
Shit, I don't know the name of the song.
It's the dawn of a new day. I don't know what.
It's a new dawn. It's a new day.
Right.
I mean, she's feeling good. I think it's called Feeling Good.
But I mean, she's definitely one of those that are singing with a purpose, and I think that was another characteristic of Sly. Whatever he was singing about, it was a purpose. It was a meaning behind it. Because the first album, you know, he came out with the band, they was like, oh, this isn't really this is too, basically they were saying this is too deep. Okay, we need something, keep it simple. And then they did Dance to the Music, and that was kind of his, you know, the first hit. But even with that, it was still the creativity was still on 1,000. He didn't simple down his the musical aspect of it. Now the words might have been more simple, but this is one of these artists. This is a Kendrick Lamar before Kendrick. This is one of those where it's music you could dance to, music you could relate to, but also when you listen to it and you play the song back and you read the lyrics, you're like, okay, this dude is really saying something. This isn't just about dancing around and having a good time. And they're fading. We lost Roy, Eris, Frankie Beverly, Quincy Jones. Yeah, you're right. And again, these stories need to be told. We need, you know, they did a Quincy Jones. It wasn't, I guess it was like a documentary that was on Netflix. Frankie Beverly, I don't know of a documentary of his, but we got to tell these stories. Blue Streak, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you in the building. True. Sound effects versus instruments. It's like instant versus home cooked. That's a great comment right there, because when the things we reviewed in this music series, if you look at everything we reviewed, if you look at Michael Jackson, just one of those that he wasn't. I don't think he was one of those that could play, you know, a ton of instruments, but he used like the sound effect, and he used his own verbal sound effects to make different intricate parts into a song. And you look at Sly, you look at Prince, these guys were instruments times 1,000. But being able to play multiple instruments And also you gotta have a sound, an ear for music. And even when they were kind of producing, and he would say, "Okay, put this in here." Somebody, and he said somebody's off. I don't know who it is, but somebody's singing off. But let's talk about the Prince and the influence that Sly had on him, and even the multicultural band, the female on the drums. Talk about that. And that was also kind of an era that you were in too.
Yeah. I mean, Prince, the revolution is 40 years ago right now, because I remember the week we graduated, we went to see B Street. The week before we graduated, we went to see B Street. The day I graduated, me and my crew, we went to see Purple Rain, even though we shouldn't have been able to get with Purple Rain. But but we went.
Which we reviewing that next week, so come back next week.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. But it was at the United Artists, and it again, it meant nothing to me to see Lisa and Wendy. That was part of the theme of the show. Lisa and Wendy was fighting with Prince about, man, won't you do some of our music? And that was really, it was a metaphor for, a microcosm of the world at that time. You women can't do this. Here goes the sad part. And it just popped into my head. Do you know when that song Dance to the Music came out, a woman couldn't even have a bank account without a man standing there?
I didn't, but I'm not shocked.
The world that, look at what we were going, we were trending. Abortion was illegal, much like it is now in certain places. This was a wonderful time in history, because you had people fighting for things. You had people, women standing up, doing their thing. It's like, dog, I was just thinking that. I was literally thinking that because she used to play the grooves of Sly Stone. I'm talking about Sly Stone and James Brown. It's songs that I know that I don't know how I know them, but then I think about back in 1655 West Hastings. That's why I heard those songs. So yeah, man, you dude like the average white band, Boss Skaggs. Don't nobody know that's a white dude. Until you saw the video, everybody, I wonder where I've been. Like, hold on, man, that's what you won't do. You do like
Bobby Caldwell. I've heard that song numerous times, and it was probably 5-10 years ago that I was like, I didn't figure out this dude was a white dude.
It's a white dude because
the soul, man, the soul and the voice, man.
I remember. I'm like okay, let's just walk through it. The Doobie Brothers. We didn't know that Doobie Brothers was white until they came on What's Happening, and it was black people digging it because they was on What's Happening. They wasn't on Happy Days. They wasn't on Three's Company. They was on the black TV show. So who was gravitating towards them? I remember the Bee Gees. Well, we knew they was white, but the Bee Gees, the Tower of Power. It was just, hey, dog, it was a vibe, man. The 70s was a vibe. And it was, people were speaking truth to power. It wasn't called speaking truth to power then. We were just like, hey, this is what it is. Right. And there's so many people that just get left behind, left in the mix. I was just talking about, what's James Brown's drummer name? Clyde Stubblefield. Everybody in this chat room, everybody who will ever listen to this, know who Clyde Stubblefield is, but you don't know his name. He a brother. He James Brown drummer. We affectionately call him the Funky Drummer. His name Clyde Stubblefield, man. And you knew these things, man. You knew these things. You like, damn, it was just, you felt it. You felt everything you was feeling. Dance to the Music, KC and the Sunshine Band. I mean, we wasn't, oh man, that's a white guy.
Hey, Golden, facts. Fire and Desire. You listen to that song, you're not thinking that she was white. But I'm telling you, and this is the impact of music. This is why there are Tina Marie's. This is why there's hell, if you think of like Adele, if you listen to her voice and you didn't see her, you would think, the soul in her voice. This is why you have M&Ms of the world, because they were impacted by the music. Let me get to another comment here. A lot of those older brothers were composers. They know how to play instruments. They had a lot of passion behind their work. They really had something to say. Yeah, because, and you know, you could probably speak to this during that era. You could just make a plain song and it would be all right. But if you had a story, if it was something that people could obviously relate to, then and jam to at the same time, if you could do both, I mean, you know, you were golden.
Bill Withers is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Man, just passed me by. When he looked at you, you looked at the ground. I was like, oh man. I don't know who he is, but I think that you do. Who is he and what is he to you? Like you said, it's that funky guitar or that funky bass, and you got him telling this story about his woman cheating on him right in his face, and he see it. And then the next song he made was "Use Me Up."
Yeah.
Like, man, okay, use me up then. and you can relate. And we all have been there. And
right.
This is the beauty of people like Sly Stone. And the whole time I'm watching this, I'm going, this is truly the birth of hip hop. This is hip hop music right here. Oh yeah. I ain't gonna be no singer. I ain't no singer.
You gotta keep your day job. Hey, both of us need to keep our day jobs for real.
Yeah. Hey, boy, if you're gonna need me to carry it, you better put it in the backpack.
He said, "Yes, sir. Cut the cake, AWB.
Cut the cake, anime."
And man, watch Thriller 40, Brother Watkins, if you haven't already. Thriller 40 breaks down Thriller from track to track, but the sounds in between, and it's just the music. Really, to hear music, these guys hear music without having to hear music. It's just in their heads. And like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was on this. Rhythm Nation. I didn't know that.
I didn't know
that. But Rhythm Nation was a sample of Thank You. And they took a portion of it and basically he looped it, and that's what became Rhythm Nation. So and again, he was at lunch or at dinner somewhere, and he ended up hearing the song, and he said, "That's it. That's Rhythm Nation." So music is just it transcends culture, it transcends time, and it can be used in any form or fashion. You had Q-Tip on here, you had Shaka Khan on here, you had Andre 3000 on here. They were all influenced by Sly, and that's 3 different genres right there. So. There you go.
It was just a wonderful time in music, man. I mean, it was unreal.
Yeah.
Like I said, my Aunt Rita used to play the grooves off that Sly Stone record, man.
She had to buy another copy?
Man, I'm telling you, dog. I remember we had this stereo set. It was a little brown stereo set that the TV set on top of. You would pull the stereo out, and you could stack like 5 albums on top of each other, right?
Yeah.
And when it played the whole first side, record would drop, record out, and then you just picked it up, flipped it, and then you played all the other albums.
So it was like it was like one of those CD players you used to put like 5 or 5 multi-player.
Played 5, and you just pick them up, flip, and music was constantly playing. And my
Brother Watkins said I was in love with Tina Marie, and I knew she was a white girl. Grandma's Hands.
Yeah, Grandma's Hands. Yeah, man.
Was that Bill Withers?
Bill Withers, man. Bill Withers, man. And it was just, and people were speaking about what was going on. And I believe that's what was creating the peace, because it's easy for Dr. King, Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, y'all mistreating us. And then it's like, I ain't mistreat you. But when you hear Sly Stone sing about it, when you hear Bill Withers sing about it, when you hear these people say it, with this music behind it. It's like Parliament Funkadelic. People don't realize all people love Parliament Funkadelic, right? You can't find nobody who love music who love that. They were talking about taking over the government. they were revolutionaries. But hey, I look crazy. I got these costumes on. Y'all paying attention to the costumes. Y'all singing the words and going.
Right.
Oh, and then if you ever stopped and listened to it, One Nation Under a Groove, getting down just for the funk of it. One Nation and we on the move. Nothing can stop us now. That ain't hug me. That's black folks.
Right.
Hey man, we under the groove of the government. We get down for the funk of it. Like, hey man, we ain't playing no more. Right. We're on the move. Right. Nothing can stop us now because we came out them 60s where y'all was kicking us in the head. We ain't for the head kicks.
Yeah, we ain't doing that no more.
But don't nobody play. Hey man, come on man, Chocolate City. I mean, even in the 90s, paint the White House black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
These are not warm and fuzzy tunes. This is
right. This is revolutionary music. But they made it fun. It was high. It was high a lot.
Oh yeah. Boy.
All right, now let's get to one of the guys and appreciate the questions that you sent over, but one of the guys that's been in almost every music documentary film we've done, Clive Davis. And you've been vocal just about him, and it's the truth. But knowing he's one of the biggest devils in the music industry, was he necessary? And I think the answer to that question is yes. Even though he was the top person that he was, I mean, owning people's masters, not giving it back, being a sly, and that's right, exactly. He was needed. And then I want to hear what you got to say.
I say no. The story could have been told. I mean, I appreciate his point of view because he was on top of things. But this is the problem I have with our community. This is what I have. This is the problem I have with working class people. I don't care what you look like. This is why we're in the position we're in now. We always find the devil and figure out something that we can like about. See, Clark Davis was there. See, he was telling me, he had the inside track. The damn band was there. Shaka Khan was there. We could have got a married. George Clinton was there. We could have got some of his homies that was influencing him. And you get high, bring them on there. We don't need the dude who, in my personal opinion, inflicted all that pain on Sly. Don't nobody want to talk. See, we always it's like the rape victim, right? Yeah. But if she wouldn't have had on them tight clothes, if she wouldn't have had on that short skirt, if she wouldn't have had
victim blaming
showing, no, man, you don't do that to people. You shouldn't rape anybody. If you should be able to walk down the street naked.
Right.
You shouldn't get raped. And because Clive got all this money, he got all this influence, and he can put so many people on. But how many people he can beat? You know, it's amazing how Sean Combs is the scum of the earth for beating brothers and sisters out their money. Clive Davis, man, he really helped people.
They love him.
They might be boyfriends and girls. You know, they might be a couple. You know what I'm saying? They're the same person. Yeah. So, I don't want him in this. Yeah, I appreciated what he brought to it. But let's just go back in this. You saw it, I saw it. Honest question. If he wouldn't have been in it, would you have missed would this have been, if it's 100, would it have been a 99 if Clive Davis wasn't there?
Nah.
It is.
And really, I wonder if he was a producer or something. They just felt like they had to throw him in there.
Yeah,
and honestly, I thought the question was more so, was he needed in the music industry as a whole? But in this documentary, he wouldn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't no reason to really put him in there.
Right, and I believe that's exactly what it was. He bankrolled it. So, and he bankrolled it with a purpose. I'm gonna get some more money off of Clive because Sly. Hey, people don't realize, and I saw this on Unsung.
Yeah.
Back-to-back unsung episodes with Sly and George, and he screwed them both. If you don't notice, up until think about this, up until about 5, maybe 6 years, George got his rights back from Clyde from the 70s, and I saw the contract on Unsung, and it was literally like, and rewrote over it.
Yeah.
Are y'all kidding? You've been in court for 20 years for that. They should have did that discovery. What, man? Get them their stuff back. But again, man, we always, when you're a victim, then you turn to drugs and you turn to this and you turn to that. You shouldn't have. What you shouldn't have. Nah, man. What led me to that? What led me to that? And if you led me to it, it's your fault just as much as mine. I had to do the drugs. I had to deal with whatever I'm dealing with. I created that monster. But if you put me on, if you drove me to the place, then nah.
Yeah.
You just
and even with Whitney Houston, there was in that film, or it was a film or a documentary where it talked about how the record company, which was Clive, would give her the drugs to help her cope or whatever excuse you want to give, or help her make the music that she was making. And so you're just enabling the person. You're not trying to help you.
Enslaving the person. How about that?
Yeah.
Because, okay, listen to, I wasn't even thinking that far into the future. Listen to what you just said. We did the Whitney Houston movie. The record label gave her the drugs to cope. The person at the top of the record label is Clive Davis. You just saw Sly Stone and George Clinton destroy themselves with them same drugs, and you're gonna give it to another aspiring superstar so you can control them, which makes you the devil.
Right. Or you just use them up. You use them up until they can't do it anymore, and then you
go get Phyllis Hyman, and then you go get what's her name? Phyllis Hyman and somebody else who was under him, and they died because they OD'd. And why everybody always get to a point there OD around you, man?
Yeah. You're the common denominator.
And hey, even with this, one more thing, even with the Sean Combs thing, who at the front of that train?
Yeah,
Clive Davis.
Because he had, I know he had J Records, but didn't he have? He was like
he the one gave Pump the money. So if you got the power,
it's crazy how interconnected this dude is to everything.
And everybody, he was a hero because he came out and said he was LBGT. I don't care what you're doing with your business, man. That's your business. You wicked, man. Yeah. You wicked.
That sampling came from digging through mom and dad's albums, them house parties. Yeah, the movie House Party. Another example. We used to call it a component set.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, we used to call it a component set and let you have little money, put lights in the speakers.
Boy, I'm telling you, man, I could still smell my grandmother's. Thinking about that, I could smell my grandmother's house.
Man, Golden, this is a powerful comment. Puffy was wrong, but I've never seen nobody go to jail for being a freak.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's in jail for the situation with
he in jail for he paid off. He paid it $60 million.
So he just in jail for he in a holding period.
I've ever seen him and R. Kelly, the only two cats I've ever seen. They go to jail on the RICO charges, and RICO is racketeering and organized crime,
which is normally for multiple people.
Right?
That's how you get more people
from organizing by yourself.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And this is a comment for on Clive. He recognized our talent, and he was the back door in the industry. We should have made our own.
Speak.
Yeah, and I don't think artists were thinking that far ahead. Now, some of them were, but I don't know if I think they were like, let's get on. And maybe the long-term plan was, all right, let us get on and then we can take it, which some artists did that.
Sam Cooke.
But yeah, Sam Cooke's a prime example.
See
But yeah, I don't know if I think we were just thinking of let's get on first, and then that'll be the long-term plan. But some of them, they just never got to the long-term plan because they got derailed. Anything you want to add on that? Somebody you want to say?
Hey man, but the thing is, Nori from the what's the name of his show, Drink Champs, he says it all the time. He said, man, we know we going into these horrible deals. He said, but this is what I want you to do. He said, somebody finna give me $10,000, $100,000, $50,000, and I live in the projects. I'm just trying to get out the projects. And they know that. Yeah. It's the crab in the barrel mentality. People always talk about the crab in the barrel and how we be hurting each other. No. The other side of that crab in the barrel is, hey man, I'm at the bottom of this barrel. Right. There's like 50 crabs above me. And then somebody open up the door at the bottom of the barrel and go, here, but we gonna screw you. Scottie Pippen fell victim of that. Scottie Pippen had just had back surgery. And back then, back surgery was like, oh my God, you had back surgery. And they said, we give you $24 million. And then told him this is a bad deal. I wouldn't sign it, but it is security.
But here,
man from Po Dirt, Arkansas, he come in the house. He had 11 siblings. His mom and his daddy just had a stroke. Who turned it down $17 million? And but we ain't gonna renegotiate, but you will have this. And they probably hit him with and you still got your NBA pension, so you will be okay. And then they screwed him. So man, it's the same thing, man. You put me in a bad situation and show me a big pile of money. Don King even said it. He said, poor people will take $50,000 cash over $1 million check because I could see the 50 grand.
I can see
I don't know if the check gonna bounce.
Man, facts. And I mean, and we've seen some stories on the flip side. And I think one of the biggest ones that isn't talked about a lot, Lion King, the guy that sung, he was a kid at that point. That was his name was
Jason Weaver.
Weaver. They tried to give Jason Weaver what they tried to give him, I think $1 million or something up front. But he wouldn't get any other residuals. He wouldn't get any other royalties, and he turned that down. And now I can't even imagine how much money
he's still every year
eating off of that. So, there's stories on both sides, but I think there's so many because, like you just said, we're at the bottom, and somebody's giving us something to get ahead, to get up, and our situations aren't always the greatest. And this is another great point. Don't forget they have big insurance money. These artists, and we've had so many that have passed. The record label, yes, they have a life insurance policy on it. But when they pass away, and you're more valuable. I don't know who said this, but you're more valuable as an artist when you dead. Because then they got dropped all that music you had that you didn't drop, that you had in a vault. And Prince's family, shout out to Prince's family, which will probably never release that music, which it should be that way, because that's the way it should be. But you look at these young artists, the minute they die, they are already producing that next album of his 40 songs. They can make a double CD, or they may release it in 10 tracks at a time. But it's an evil industry, and it's an opportunity that we see to get out of a worser situation. Sean Combs is the clone of Clive Davis. Clive Davis is just the mob, like Whitney. Yep, we did mention that. I think a lot of those guys didn't know drugs until they met their producers and handlers. Yep, good point. Because man, oh, go ahead.
Back then, cocaine was the white man's drug.
Yeah. And I think one of the saddest stories is DeBarge. Oh gosh, man, that unsung, that one I'll probably never forget that one. And there's a documentary of two of the brothers. I don't know where it is or if it's out yet, but they're like living in a trailer, and they go to work somewhere. They still jamming on their music, playing guitar, but they are That is not where you would think anybody from DeBarge would be. But that one messed me up. And it was really, it was L was doing a lot of the music. He was staying up late. He was tired. And somebody was like, hey, this is normally how it goes. Anybody that's seen unsung, this is how the situation goes.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me give you this. It'll help you, make it through it. It'll help you give you that energy that you need. And so sometimes we are naive and we think, oh, if I just do it one time, it'll be all right. And that one time ends up being a lifelong, battle. Some have overcame it, but it's one of the saddest stories. What's up, Raider Kev in the building? Thank you for tuning in. They strung them out just like a streetwalker on the street, man. Facts. Just heard The Lion King was a story about real people. The characters just was changed to lions. The story of an African kingdom.
It ain't shocking.
Yeah, nah, not at all. Even that song, the song that we've all heard and know, was actually a song from an African village that somebody that was producing the film happened to find it and end up taking that and putting it in the movie. And I don't think that person ever got anything from that.
They're getting stuff now. His family is getting stuff now.
Okay. But I think at the time of that, I don't think they were getting, that was probably 5-10 years ago. So he took too long to pay and the state picked up the case. Oh, you talking about Diddy maybe. And they were all talking about DeBarge, man. They were all addicts, which is nobody. And then I think the saddest part is their parents, your cousins, your family members. Nobody wants their relative, their father, their brother, their sister, to be a drug addict. Nobody wants that. Nobody imagines that future for their kids. But again, and it comes down to like what people are around you, which we got into part of the Sly documentary. He ended up bringing some of his, some of his bros, and they brought up a comment, "Good in the Hood," which I wanted to talk about that because and it's not a bad thing either to still have your relationships with your people that you grew up with, and then you got relationships with industry people. That's just a part of the music business. And then you got some people in the middle that you've kind of met, along the way. But I think sometimes what happens, and this was a Kendrick Lamar quote, he was like, man, the entourage is dead. Like these people that you're bringing along, which is fine, but how you manage it, how you deal with it, you already got a lot of stress. And then you have the band members, which was and the Family Stone, and then you had some of his bros that he grew up with, had some tension. The band ends up going one way, going another way. And I think it was so much pressure on Sly, who obviously was the creator. He was the producer. He was the writer. And that's just a lot of pressure that's on one person. And like they said in this documentary, there's not like somebody he can go to and say, hey, how do I deal with being the black at this level of my career? And Black Elvis, right? How do I deal with this? So, yeah, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the questions. Like, is it an industry thing or is it a personal thing? And I think it's more industry than personal, simply because look how much music Prince created.
Yeah.
From what we understand, he got 65, 70,000 songs that we've never heard. 65 or 70,000 songs.
Yeah.
So if you allow a creative to create, there's an unlimited amount of stuff in there or in here. But when you telling me making a hit, making a hit, making a hit, making a hit, now you pressuring yourself. It's pressure. Again, I'm not putting addiction on anybody but the person. But like you say, hey man, I don't know who to call. I don't know I can call James Brown. Maybe I don't even know how to get. See, I can get hell. I reached out on Twitter and got Olden Polynice and Xavier McDaniel phone number. They've been on my program. It was as simple as inbox. Yeah, here go my phone number. Call me. NBA players, Kenny Anderson, Rod Strickland did the same thing, and they came on. But one no inboxes in 1968.
Yeah, nah. There were no text messages.
One no text messages. Ain't no internet. So I don't know. Or you think? Do I really believe? Am I to believe that Clive Davis would allow me to talk to James Brown? James Brown, who's wildly independent, who run around Georgia buying radio station, who doing everything on his own. Clive Davis and those dudes, they are doing everything they can to keep me the hell away from him. We don't need you talking to James Brown because he already out here talking about I'm black and I'm proud. You out here talking about stand up for the people. We gonna keep y'all apart.
Yeah.
And then that's the problem. And then another thing, do you really want to buck the system? Because when you buck the system, they buck you.
Yeah, you get blackballed.
Yeah.
You get thrown to the side. That happened to Prince. He didn't, you're not gonna tell me when I can release. And there's two sides to this. Prince was making so much music, he was like, I'm ready to release an album every single year. Like y'all want me to hold off. And with Sly, he was more give me time to create. Don't just say just make another hit, because that's not realistic. Let's just be honest. You're not gonna make every single song you come out with is not gonna be a hit. Yes, there are some artists that can do that, but also there's, I think in today's time, there's a machine sometimes behind
even then.
Yeah, true. I mean, you get, if you hear the same song 5 times, like if you a truck driver, you somebody that drives around all day, and you hear the same song 5 times, that's like 5 times too many. That means there's some other artists over here that's not getting any playtime because the label is saying you got to play this song this many times. And so I think there was so much pressure, and a lot of times we don't know how to deal with it. We are a people sometimes that holds stuff in. We hold it in till it ends up literally killing us. And we go to the thing that sometimes is the easiest. Their therapy was not even. I can only imagine. Wasn't even an option.
Back then.
Right, wasn't even an option. So you go to what's comfortable. You go to that crutch, and then that crutch becomes not enough. And you start to dabble into more different things that you then ends up taking you down a spiral.
Yeah, that crutch becomes a rope, and it chokes you out.
Yeah. And I think one of the probably the saddest part of this was the list. I mean, they had a full Excel spreadsheet of all his arrests. I think it was in the 80s and 90s. And I don't know if this is the part that you were going to mention, but I don't know if you needed to put every single one on there. I mean, you could have just said 80s and 90s he had this many arrests, but it really talked about all the different arrests that he had, where they were, and that's where the fall off happened, and then that's where the industry, that's where people say, all right, this dude is done. Let's now it becomes to make fun of. Now it becomes the another documentary we did about George, not George, what's his Different Strokes. Gary Coleman, where he becomes the punchline. And then everything you've done previously doesn't mean anything.
And it's amazing to me how, again, I don't want to make this a racial issue. They do it to black people, don't do it to white. I don't want to do that. But it's amazing how Mick Jagger is known to be a drug addict. The dude's it ain't Van Halen, but it ain't Eddie Van Halen. It's another group, the Motley Crue. The dude in the Motley Crue wrote a book, how he ran, and one of the inserts in the book is, I ran out of heroin, so I started mainlining Hennessy.
Wow.
How is he still performing, but Sly Stone couldn't get no help? See, this is why I don't rock with that bozo. I ain't even gonna say his name anymore, but we know.
Yeah.
Davis. Jive Turkey. That's what his name is.
Right, Jive Davis. Yeah.
Right, Jive Davis. How is it that you're not getting these people? And then you know what, man? Like you had the same thing on Motown. You know, you had a lot of the dudes using drugs and stuff. Marvin Gaye, Eddie Kendricks, you know, you had people doing it. But it's amazing how a lot of them seem to get through that. And the people on the other side, they crash and burn. It has to be something going on.
Yeah, and it's the label, obviously. It's the people that run the label. Because if you look at Berry Gordy, you look at Berry Gordy versus Jive Davis. You know, maybe Berry Gordy. Today's time, you don't see him as much, but his stamp on music was major, and they call it obviously the Motown sound and the amount of artists that he's influenced and all of that. But I don't know this for a fact, but a lot of these artists that we've talked about, I'm sure he extended, he tried to help, he tried to do something. But when you look on the flip side, there's let's give them this, or let me help get you better so you can make another album. And then after that, it's all hands off from there.
We saw that movie that Beyonce was in when she played Etta James. And Mos Def was in it playing Chuck Berry, and the dude from Chicago Fire was in it playing Howlin' Wolf. Chess Records.
Yeah.
It was about Muddy Waters. What's the name of that movie?
Is it Cadillac Records?
Cadillac Records. I'm gonna buy you a Cadillac. I'm gonna make you look good, but I'm gonna keep all the money.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And yeah, you're right. Go now. Let's shame them. Let's make them the punchline. Yeah, Tommy Lee, Mick Jagger, Steven Tyler, Kurt Cobain. But they were cherished. Yeah, to this day. To this day.
You don't hear about Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain is like a god.
To this day.
It's like a rock god. So yeah, but it goes back to that comment of us doing our own, which we are seeing more of that in today's time. There's numerous artists that got their own label, got their own group of stable of artists. You know, J. Cole's got his whole Dreamville. You got Kendrick with his. And this is the lessons learned. So this is the flip side of this. Let's take what these previous artists have done and let's learn and let's do it a different way that we can still be impactful. We can still make millions, but we can also bring other people on and do it in a way that it also makes it makes
for everybody.
Yeah, it makes sense for everybody, and everybody can grow. Cadillac Records, yeah, appreciate that, Rate of Care. All right, let's get to another question. Do you owe your community anything? And I'm going to tie this in with that. In this documentary, the Black Panther Party came to Sly and was like, "Hey, we see what you're doing. You know, your music is impacting us. We are impacting each other. You know, let's kind of work together." And they said there was a request of money. I don't know if that was 100% true, but there was some request, and they didn't kind of go too far into it, but of them working together. And I think Sly that wasn't necessarily his thing, but his music obviously helped motivate the movement. So talk about that. Do you owe your community anything?
That's a tough one, man, because H-Rap says yes. Brian Williams says, I don't know. H-Rap is going, yeah, you owe your community. Because see, but Sly is a enigma. Because Sly didn't go to the Black community first and then blow up. Sly went pop culture and blew up. Yeah. So how you gonna say to me, oh man, y'all gravitated towards me and the whole world gravitated towards, I was a magnet. But then you do want to say you do owe your community, because without your community, without that church, without your mother, without your, so it's one of those things that I don't know. It depends on the individual. You know, it's one of those things to whereas it has to be in you, not on you.
Yeah.
Don't, you can't put this on me, man.
Right.
This has to be in you. And if I want to reach back later on and do, I will. And that's what a lot of people, no, you owe. No, you don't. You don't owe. You owe people. You might not owe your people. What I believe we should do, instead of teaching our young people to fall in love with money, we need to, that's why I ask young people. I'll never ask young people anymore, what are you gonna be when you grow up? I ask them, what you gonna do to make the Black community better when you grow up? See, because when you throw that in there, it's a responsibility.
Right.
This is what I want you to be. This is how you're gonna improve things. It does two things. It makes you think, how can I improve things? And it gives you responsibility.
Right. Right.
And
it gives you a sense of what can I do for the community? What talents do I have? What gifts do I have that can help the next person? That can help the next kid coming along.
Like this one thing called passing the torch, right?
Yeah.
Ain't no passing of the torch. I'ma light your torch, because if I pass you the torch, where I am is dark now.
Right.
So I'm gonna light your torch, keep mine lit, and then you go light another torch. That's what we have to start thinking about. No more passing of the torch. It is lighting an additional torch. And like I was saying, the reason they get us is because we are in a horrible situation, and we'll take jobs that we hate. We'll take careers that we hate, but it's making this much money. But you dying early, because every time you get up and go to work, it's like getting up with an elephant on your back.
Yeah, it's a slow and painful death.
Man, it's a slow, painful death. You don't love your wife the way she should be. You don't love your children the way they should be. You don't love your parents the way you should, because all you think about is money and status, and I can't go back. So you owe your community that.
Yeah.
Doing what's best for you. Ain't loving me, then I can love you.
Right. Exactly. And Watkins says, it seems like it's always just us. Yeah. All right, let's play our preview for next week. We already mentioned it, but let's play the trailer, and then we'll be right back with Sly Lives. All right, and this will be my first time ever watching Purple Rain. Now, maybe I've seen some clips. Maybe I walked by the TV. Maybe I turned in the channels and didn't see it. But this will be the first time watching it in full. So I'm looking forward to this. We tried to do a Prince documentary. It didn't work out at all, because there's not a good one. So we definitely wanted to circle back around and do that. So next week, Purple Rain. Let's get to a comment. One thing I do admire about 50 Cent, he has legal representation. The man has learned the art of the deal. And he is a success story, like on so many levels. There needs to be a documentary on him.
Maybe really done, man.
Yeah. But I mean, just from where he started to getting shot 9 times, to then Dr. Dre, to then movies and film.
I'm not laughing at him get shot 9 times. I'll tell you when I'm
laughing. She said you're gonna love it. Talking about Purple Rain. I'm looking forward to it. We should have the crew back together also next week. So one other question I wanted to get to, and I think this is why this documentary I think was so great, is because it talked about the pressures of going on tour and creating. And is that the industry or self-inflicted? What they talked about that was and this is a question: was Sly trying to self-inflict pain on himself? And I think the answer was no. As far as him, I think some artists, yes, because it's so big that we are afraid sometimes of the success than we are, of the failure. But I think with Sly, I just think he was addicted. I think because he was still doing music, he was still being creative, still using all of that, all of his gifts. But so yeah, I wanted to talk about that, kind of the pressures of touring, which doesn't get talked about a lot. We just say, oh, this person's here this night, here 2 nights from now. That's not a regular form of work. You're not doing a 2-hour concert 2 nights, 3 nights, and then during this time, hell, they were doing it like 4 or 5 nights a week. That's not that's like playing the NFL game or playing the NBA game every single night a week where you playing the entire game. Like that's not realistic.
Yeah, man. This is the problem I have with today's society. We're so enamored with money.
Yeah.
But you got money. Look, man, to quote the great philosopher OC, from the Bronx, New York, MC, Super MC. But he said we got to get paid so money connects, but I'd rather be broke and have a whole lot of respect. That respect he's speaking of is self-respect. He's been on my program. It's self-respect. Am I willing to go like I was having a conversation recently, and it was like, but the money. I was like, I'm not doing that for the money. I said, why would I be away from my children so I could have this money? And my kids grow up jacked up.
Yeah.
They don't have any sense of self. But like, but you don't worry about it, but you're getting paid. Yeah, okay. And then your kids grow up messed up, and then what?
Without a father.
Without a father.
Without
Think
a parent.
about it, man. Like when we look at the young brother LeBron James, man, we literally watched that dude grow up. We watched him grow up. And the one thing people always say, he capping. He capping. He had his son game capping. No, that's called parenting.
Yeah.
Why would you get your son in the league? Because I spent the last 18 years of his life on the road most of the time. I was away. LeBron James is away from his family at a minimum 8 months a year because he's going to China. He's going to other places. He's going to the Olympics. He's on the road playing in the playoffs. He's away from his family 8 months a year, and we mad that if Ari said, I want to be a podcaster, we'll see on BS3, we'll see an Ari podcast tomorrow night.
Right.
I remember you and her did used to do a show.
Yeah.
Because she said, I want to do this. Every parent worth his salt is going to do what he needs to do. But a lot of us get so caught up in the money, we don't realize that your parents didn't work 2 jobs because they wanted money. They worked 2 jobs because they had to. If your mother or father could have worked 4 hours a day, they would have, and they'd have came to pick you up from school every day, and they'd have hung out with you, and they'd have taken care of you.
Yeah.
And we don't we get so caught up in this thing and these things. I want to fly here and I want to dress like this. When at the end of the day, your kids just really want to hang out with you.
Right. They just want you. They want you to be present, and you could just be on the floor drawing. You could be watching TV. You could be taking them to get some ice cream, cooking dinner at home together. That's really all they want. And I think, with Sly, it looks like he had, I think, three kids. They were all interviewed in this. And they all kind of gave a similar story. Like, we knew our dad, we knew of him, but he was gone. He was gone the majority of the time. And even, man, I mean, I'm shocked. She was laughing about it, but one of her, one of his daughters was like, "Yeah, we seen so much cocaine around the house and all that. We were making lines with chalk and sniffing it, and I mean, she laughed about it, which, I mean, laughing through your pain, and obviously she's, made up with her father and that kind of stuff. But like that's not a story you want your kids to tell about their growing up. Now, I think the great part is he did rekindle that relationship with his kids. He's spending more time with them. He's clean and everything like that now. But like touring that much, and this is in the 70s, 80s, where there wasn't avenues for you to take a break, and there wasn't technology. There wasn't a lot that was during that time. So you going from one place to the other place. The buses probably weren't as great. You probably weren't sleeping great. I mean, so yeah, he was probably delusional sometimes because you sleep deprived and you're doing drugs, and people are expecting you every single night, because the person in New York is not going to know what the show is going to be in Philly. They have no idea, because there wasn't anything that you could see. So you had to bring it every single night. And I was and they even said, that was where it really started to deteriorate with him, and even his nervousness, and which you think of Sly, you think of Prince, you don't think of them being nervous, you don't think of them being having those type of right. You don't think of them having anxiety, but these are still human beings that still have day-to-day issues and things that we deal with.
And you know what? When you mention that, it makes me think about how insensitive his bandmates were.
Yeah.
I don't like anybody in his band after watching this, especially at their Hall of Fame speech. And when that lady stood her butt up there and said, "Well, we all here besides one person, and y'all know who that is."
Yeah.
And then if you watch the end of it, if you get a chance, go back to that segment. He shook everybody on that stage hand, but the Family Stone. He didn't touch one of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all being real insensitive, because y'all can't say, well, it's 1992. 1992, people knew we were in the midst of a drug epidemic. And we knew this was a inflicted pain. So you can't say, hey, man, and like the drummer, and man, I had to leave. And one thing I really didn't like that he did, he said, yeah, I didn't do nothing for a whole year. You know why you ain't do nothing for a year? I bet because your ass is in rehab. Because your ass is in rehab. Because you ain't going to tell me, like me, I ain't never been high in my life. And a lot of my homies smoke weed, like 85% of my homies smoke weed. So I ain't never been high in my life. But you ain't, because I've seen a guy jump in front of a bus, he's so high. I seen a dude jump off a building, he was so high.
Yeah. Which
the first time I seen a naked girl is because this girl, I wasn't gonna say her name, through William E. Gladstone Elementary schoolyard. She walked through the schoolyard and went and sat on the little stoop naked. So I saw all that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first time I was, and she was the girl. Put like this: imagine the prettiest girl in your neighborhood that all the guys like. Walked through. She's so hot. She walked through the neighborhood naked.
And how old was she? I'm wondering.
18, 19.
Yeah.
So, but if I grew up in the 60s, I guarantee you I would have tried something.
Yeah.
Man, come on, man. You around all these drugs and all this alcohol, all your friends getting high, and you ain't gonna try?
Yeah. I mean, and they even said it, when they were living in the house together, when they first moved to San Francisco, they had bikes. It was like, we was having fun, we was getting high. So they kind of painted this, obviously it's about Sly, but they it like he was the only drug addict in the band, but that's hard for me to believe.
Right.
They were all living together. They were all doing their thing together.
I ain't gonna besmirch her name, God rest her soul. But that's why when I watch What's Love Got to Do with It, I kind of squint when I watch that. You ain't never get high. Man, he was whooping on her ass in that movie so bad, I almost started getting high. Like, oh.
And that movie is not meant to be funny, but Lawrence Fishburne made that movie
yeah. But man, this man whooping on you and raping on you, I would have got high. So I just find it difficult to believe that y'all around all these people getting high. It's the 60s and the 70s when it was cool. One no say no to drugs. They didn't even at that point. They didn't even have on the pack of cigarettes. Hey man, it's gonna kill you.
Right.
So
And it didn't have that certain general
you just
warning.
grabbed it, man.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here, man. So I didn't like that at all, man. They made that man look like he the only one getting high. So so y'all just watch this man.
And
like,
you know,
everybody around going, when band practice stop? When you get through, man.
and they even said it like he wasn't a tyrant. He wasn't one of those that would be like, nah, we about to stay here all night. But he was a perfectionist, which most artists of this magnitude are. And so they practiced. They were taking naps in between. But none of them ever said, yeah. None of them ever said though, we hated him as a person and we left because he was a bad person. I think obviously distance happens. And if that's the reason why, okay, that's fine. But if it's you, there was no ill feelings towards him, and none of them really said anything to the effect of we don't like him, and that's the reason why we left the band. Let me get to some comments. He said, "Man, I watched that so many times. One thing about it, great soundtrack. Talking about Purple Rain. When you're given such a great gift, I believe you do owe. It's up to you to figure out to whom."
Yep, I could deal with that.
You said, "What? You haven't seen Purple Rain? You late to the party?" I'm hella late to the party.
Hey boy, if I told y'all, hey, I'm gonna take you out the fire, then. I'm telling you, they finna give you your black card back in full, and mine's finna get stripped down to about 10%. I never seen The Color Purple.
Yeah, and he said that before. That is hard for me to believe. But you still got time, man. Still got time. He said, Golden said, yeah, because they could have been deadly. That could have been deadly. I think we're talking about drugs and
that was
yeah. I think sometimes when it comes to our community, they don't seem to look at mental health or depression as other communities. Especially during this time, especially during the time of Sly. Yeah, there was. I can only imagine how frowned upon it would have been. It would have been on the front page. Now you talk about it in interviews. You talk about it at any point in time you can because we know how healing and how important it could be. She said, yeah, because Frog was leaving with that plate.
Yeah. I'll tell you about that
later. Kids spell love. Yeah. Oh yeah. Time. Hey, that's a great comment right there.
Yeah, man. I mean, but we keep and in regards to the mental health thing. No, dude, I would say at the turn of the century, that's when mental health started being addressed. I would even go back as recently as maybe 2005 is when the Black community started, because we've been, think about it, man. See, this is why when I say to people, hey man, you need to realize what you're dealing with. You are dealing with people think this is just an opinion. This is scientific. Epigenetics is a thing. Your grandmother, let's just go back to the original person who got off a boat, or the original person that was enslaved. Let's say that 12-year-old girl who was your third or fourth or fifth grandmother, right? She got captured or enslaved. Now she's stressing and all that trauma, being raped and all this. That's in her blood. That's in her system. She got every egg that she ever gonna have. So she has your grandmother or your grandfather. And he get his own brand of it, and he gets somebody else pregnant, and they got it. And these two sets of people that continue to have stress, tyranny, and trauma just in your blood. That's why people like, hey man, that enslavement thing was so long ago. First of all, I got a cousin who I had on my program. He 80-some years old. His grandmother was enslaved. Yeah. And he's had a conversation with her. So he is my parents' age. So I'm one parent away from talking to an enslaved person. So guess what? His grandmother was an enslaved person. So that means my grandmother had real conversations with enslaved people.
Yeah.
So come on, man. And so that means that thing touches us every day. And we don't want to, oh man, I ain't suffering from mental illness. No, you suffering from mental illness. You just, and look, here go the crazy part. God speaks about it. You were born into sin because all that stuff that your people did before you is right there in you. Right. So come on, man, get up out of here, man. But we don't want to hear that. We just want to hear money. Then you'll be okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm one of those people that traditionally says, and the people say, "Hey, money don't solve all your problems." Yes, it does for me, because all that. If you give me $20 million, if I win the Powerball tonight, I can go get there. All the therapy that I need, I can pay for it, and everybody around me gonna benefit from it too. So yeah, it solves all my problems. I'm gonna eat better food. I'm gonna get more exercise. I'm gonna get more sun. I'm gonna get more relaxation. I'm gonna go see that person every month. I'm gonna Tony Soprano this thing out, and then I'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah. And the good thing too is a lot of insurance with the jobs are now offering it, or they pay up to a certain amount. So there are some avenues now where you can utilize to be able to go. So the it's not necessarily an excuse now that you can't go, because I think culture has just evolved to where they're trying to give you. Right, exactly. All right, so as we round this out, we'll get to the final question, which will kind of be our final thoughts. But what stuck out the most in this documentary? You can go first.
What stuck out the most in this documentary? What stuck out the most is the very beginning. If you allow someone to be themselves, there's no limit to what they can be.
Facts. I agree with that 100%. Yeah. For me, what stuck out the most is just the amount of songs he had that are still relatable today. Just the song, not even the sample, not it being on another song, and not it being on another track, but just the amount of impact and songs he's had, artists that I didn't realize. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot in this one. And that's really what stuck out the most, because I'm like, hey, I know that song. And then he plays another one. I'm like, I know that song. And then he plays another one. Every single song they played that was his hits, or some that even weren't necessarily hits, I knew the song because I've heard it at some point in time. So, again, and I think this, when you watch, I was watching this documentary with my wife and my daughter, and my wife's like, man, is he still alive? And I'm like, yeah, this dude's still alive. He's 82 years old. Because when you watch documentaries like this, and the person's not actually in it, or sitting down and being interviewed, you think, okay, this person's already passed away. But like we continue to talk about, these type of documentaries need to be made while that person is still alive. This is we talk about giving people their flowers. This is another form of giving somebody their flowers, because they're seeing they're seeing everything they've done before their very eyes, the good, the bad, the ugly, but they're getting praise for it. And again, shout out to Questlove for even taking this on and thinking like, okay, this is somebody that needs to be praised, recognized, and him being from in the roots. I'm sure, I don't know if they've sampled anything, but that's another thing. Hey, great point. He said she said what I like was no profanity. Yeah, this wasn't this was very well done, tasteful, and it showed. A lot of times we talk about how some films and documentaries do not put us in a good light. This really put Sly in a good light, especially at the end where they talked about showing pictures with him and his family, showing how they're making up, and then just showing all the impact that he's made. I was very impressed with this one. I was definitely looking forward to it. Didn't know 100% what to expect, but knowing that Questlove was involved in it, I knew it was going to be stand up. So
And you know what else? Big ups to his children, man, because
Yeah.
like you said, his daughter was laughing at that traumatic moment, and most people wouldn't have told that story.
Oh no,
And she was
not
like,
at all.
man, it was crazy. And I appreciate a lot of, you cringe, but I was like, you know what? Sometimes we gotta let people know. And then he touched me. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I don't mean he for those who didn't see it, there's no molestation. But I'm just saying when it's a molestation situation, was a drug situation, sometimes we have to say it because it could be somebody who was watching that documentary and heard her say there was so much drugs around my house that I cut up my chalk
Yeah.
and started sniffing it. So you need to hear that. So to remind you, everything you do, what,
Yeah.
What you do in front of your children, what you say in front of your children, is they are little sponges. Like Bill Burr, there was a joke. If you watch the Bill Burr Drop Dead Age, the last joke he told was the same kind. It wasn't as severe as the Sly Stone thing, but he said he don't touch. Like he was giving his son a bath, but he don't touch his privacy. He said, "Cause I was molested." He's like, and that's why I'm a comedian. I don't want my kid to grow up to be a comedian. But he was like, he said, he wash him up, and then he said, "Okay, wash off your pee pee." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he said, his son said, "And my balls." He said, "Oh, don't say that around your mother." And so he tried to figure out where he get it from. So he always told his son, "Oh no, wash your balls, wash your balls." And he didn't even realize that he told her. He said his son banked it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then when he was 4, he said, "And my balls." And he said, "I've never been more proud of my son in my life." But he said, "Yeah." So that lets you know, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. They remember. Yeah, they remember, and that's even trauma. Depending on what it is, that could either be a traumatic experience they remember, or a joyful experience, or a joke, or something that was fun. Yeah. And Bill Burr, man, is hilarious. He's got I think he's got a new special on Hulu.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to watch.
I did.
That's it. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah,
all right, but final thoughts. Yeah, final thoughts, Mike. Rating. Sly Lives.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's my final thought. Excellent work. Thank you, Questlove. Ahmir Questlove Johnson, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. I'm gonna go in your inbox tomorrow and tell you need to catch up with Stevie Wonder. You need to catch up with George Clinton. And because I want to hear Stevie Wonder
that George Clinton one, man. Man, that's gonna have to be probably close to 2 hours.
Man, I think George Clinton's gonna have to be a couple episodes because
that Unsung, when it went all the way back to him singing like doo-wop on the corner, and I seen him, I was like, wow. Like we all got a beginning, but he was a doo-wop singer on the corner. We had a whole group and the slick back hairstyle. Right. But yeah, man, shout out to Questlove. Ahmir Thompson. Thompson's last name. But he has found a lane right now that anything he comes out with, I think we are gonna do our best to review it. And so I'm looking forward to whatever else. Let me look it up real quick, see if he's got anything else cooking.
But Stevie Wonder and George Clinton, man.
Yeah.
You can't let Stevie Wonder and George Clinton get up out of here without hearing their story.
Right. Exactly. We definitely, both of those definitely got to be, top on the list. But for me, it's an easy 5. It was an easy 5 after watching it. Easy 5 as of right now. A great ending. Gave you the good, bad, and the ugly, but it showed his impact, which was the most important part. It showed his impact on music, his impact on his family and his kids. So yeah, it's an easy 5 for me. And yes, Golden. I would love Marvin Gaye's story. I agree, and it has to open up with him doing that national anthem. All right, that's the smoothest national anthem I think I've ever heard. And I think people have tried to repeat it, tried to duplicate it, but can't do it. Can't do it.
Right. And you know what's funny about Marvin Gaye? Anytime I hear the words Marvin Gaye, it takes me back to the last episode of Yo MTV Raps. Redman, dog. He scarred the name Marvin Gaye for me. Because they were all doing these freestyle rhymes, and he said, when they cutting off MTV, it makes me want to holler like Marvin Gaye when his father shot him.
Oh, man.
I was like, no, Red. Anytime
that dude is a rapper.
Make me want to holler now.
Yeah, rapper, part-time comedian. He's been going on podcasts. He's starting to come out more.
Red got 50 million streams on his new album.
Yeah, have you heard it? Have you heard it already?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's long as a cool 100, but
man, I think it's like 30 songs.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. It's a movie, man. It's a movie.
Yeah. With skits. I mean, it's a 2000s album. Skits.
Hey, but you know what's funny? He got a song that he wrote 5 years ago.
On that album?
On that album. It's about Trump kidnapping Michelle Obama and Superman lover saved her. and she pretty much saved herself. And I'm like, wow, just think, Michelle Obama come out and kick it off. And man, it's like, damn, he talking about, man, artists are artists, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Nas, you do documentaries too, so we're gonna need you.
Oh yeah, Nas is in that lane too. But yeah, that Rockweiler song, which is only like a minute or something. So he did an interview and he was like, yeah, the song was longer.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to. He never wanted to release, or he didn't like the song. I think he didn't like it. I don't know.
Eric Sermon cut it down.
Yeah, but that's still one of the greatest songs to this day that come to hip hop. But all right, next week, like we said, Purple Rain. So make sure to tune in next week. The crew, the foursome, should be back.
We're doing the 5 Heartbeats now.
Hey, we got to do that one. Was that a series or was that?
No, that's just one movie.
That was just one thing. Yeah, that was a classic though. That was a classic. All right, so definitely thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate all of the comments. Sonny Cole, thank you for the like. Theodora Blue Streak, thank you for the like as well. Thank you for the views on Twitter, on the Facebook page, and also on the Twitter pages. The End of the Bench, the Fourcast, BS3 Network. All right, so let's go ahead and close this out. She said, good night, guys. My kids calling with good night to you as well. We definitely about to get out of here ourselves and go and close this out. Oh, sorry. What's coming? What was on the End of the Bench today?
I was ready to go. Today I did Unorganized but Ready to Fight. I talked about how our community is unorganized, but it's time for us to get ready to fight. And I showed a couple of videos. One of the videos was about Jim Crow. Go to www.theendofthebench.com. TheEndofthebench. The End of the Bench, right? .com. And you can see both the episode and the video about how Jim Crow started and the purpose of Jim Crow. And I talked about how you have to, at some point, we have to stop saying what's wrong and start fixing what's wrong. Like I actually did this. I had a conversation with somebody, and I was talking about what needs to be done and how they're part of a large organization, and they kind of shunned it. But like I said, Fred Gray. How many people know who Fred Gray is? Fred Gray is Martin Luther King's, Rosa Parks, and Claudette Colvin's attorney. These people are seminal in the civil rights movement. That attorney is still alive. How many people know who Percy Sutton is? How many people know who Y.T. Walker is? If they if we allow them to do away with the Department of Education, there will be no Percy Sutton, there will be no Y.T. Walker, there will be no Fred Gray, there will be no Martin King, and at that point we're screwed, because you need academics, you need firemen, you need bus drivers, you need everybody to make this thing better. And if you don't start having conversations with, let's just use your family, you and Erica, and then you teach Ari, and then you start talking to your parents and then your brothers and sisters, and then y'all talking to y'all cousins, then you talking to me, Doc and Wilkes, and then we're talking to our family, and then we're talking to a community at large, and then we talk to the city, and then we talk to the county, then we talk to the state, and then we can go to the federal government. That's how these movements start. And if we're not educated in regards to what's going on, the laws, or how to fix things, not like, for example, one of the biggest things that people overlook in this time, 200,000 signatures on a petition forces the House of Representatives to address that. That's not a lot of people. We live in a country with over 300 million, and 200,000 people signed a petition, they forced to address it. It's 50 million Black people in America. We can't get 200,000 people to say, oh, enough of this.
Right. And that's one of those things like you shared. I think you shared it with the group. One of those petitions. I mean, like we have the power and the ability to do
it. And these people in South Carolina almost beat up a U.S. person from the U.S. House of Representatives. He was shook. I sent you the clip. My man was shook.
Yeah.
And they put the fear of God in that clown. And we're not, I'm not saying let's get violent. We don't have to. What I'm saying is stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up for your rights.
Yeah.
Get up for the fight. That we have to do that, but we have to do those things. If the people from King and Garvey's generation, Garvey and then the King generation can do what they did, we have way more freedoms than they had. So how is it that we're in worse shape? We're in worse shape.
Right.
Got to do something.
Right.
With that being said, I don't know what I'm talking about tomorrow, because I was asleep most of the day for the first day. I got a transfer, and today is the first day I ain't got to get up and go nowhere. So I'm gonna smoke some.
That rest, man, is a beautiful thing. We underestimate sleep and rest. It is that's how your body heals. That's how it recuperates. So this is how much rest I've been getting lately. I've been dreaming a lot lately. Yeah. That's definitely what that means.
Yep. Yeah. Good rest.
Yeah.
But man, thanks. Always good, man, to rap with you. The guys will be back next week. It's going to be a great situation next week. If you want, we'll talk on this over.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Peace.